I was folding my husband's laundry when I found a note from his sister that said, "She'll never be enough. Just hold on until the inheritance." I showed him the note. He ripped it up and said, "Don't be so sensitive." The next day, I woke up to my credit cards canceled and my car missing. "Maybe it's time you learn your place," he said. But I was already planning something none of them saw coming. I used to think betrayal was a slow burn, something that crept in over time. But now I know. It can hit like a slap in the face. Quick, brutal, and unforgettable. It was a Sunday just after lunch. Travis had left to check on a job site, even though it was his day off. I stayed home sorting laundry like I always did. 6 years of marriage had turned me into the one who handled everything inside the house, while he and his sister ran the landscaping business their father left them. I never complained. I thought that's what marriage was, dividing the load. I found the note in his khakis. His work pants, the ones always covered in dirt and dried grass. There was something stiff in the front pocket, and when I pulled it out, I figured it'd be a receipt or some scrap from a job. But it was a small piece of notebook paper, folded tight. I opened it. Just one sentence. "No greeting. No signature. She'll never be enough. Just hold on until the inheritance." I stood there staring at it, reading it over and over like maybe I was missing something. Maybe it was part of a joke or a quote. But deep down, I knew exactly what it was. It was from Alyssa. Her handwriting was unmistakable, sharp angles, all caps, like she was always yelling through the page. I knew her style better than anyone. We used to be close in the beginning. She used to call me sis. That stopped a few years ago, around the time her dad got sick. I always felt like she resented me for marrying Travis. She acted like the business was hers, like the family was hers, and I was just this outsider she had to tolerate. Still, I gave her grace. I let things slide. I thought I was doing the right thing, keeping the peace. But reading that note made my stomach turn. I suddenly saw every side eye, every joke she made at my expense, for what it really was: pure, cold-blooded contempt. I didn't confront him right away. I waited until he got home. I was calm, too calm. I held the note out and asked, "Can you explain this?" He looked at it, then at me. "No guilt. No shock." He just took it, ripped it down the middle, tossed it in the trash, and said, "Jesus, don't be so sensitive." She said, "I'll never be enough. It's just Alyssa being Alyssa. You're blowing this way out of proportion." That was all I got. No apology. No denial. Just dismissal. Like I was a child making drama out of nothing. I sat up most of the night, going over it all in my head. The way Alyssa always talked to him behind closed doors. The way they kept certain business details away from me. The fact that his father's estate was still being sorted, and they both had been acting strange since he passed. Monday morning, I got up like normal, showered, got dressed for work. But when I stepped outside, my car was gone. At first I thought it was stolen. I ran back and, panicking, called him. He picked up on the second ring, laughing. "I moved it," he said, like he was talking to a child. "You won't be needing it for a while." Then he hung up. I checked our joint credit cards, declined. I logged into our bank app. Access denied. Everything we shared, he had shut it all down overnight. I was cut off. Just like that. I called him again, shaking. "What the hell is going on?"
His voice was cold this time.
"Maybe it's time you learn your place." And that's when I knew. It wasn't a mistake. This was deliberate. This was coordinated. He and Alyssa had planned this. But what they didn't know, I'd been quietly building my own safety net. I had a separate account with money from a side freelance gig I never told them about. I had records too, emails, texts, even a few financial documents I'd copied over the years. They thought I was weak. They thought I'd cry, beg, come crawling back. But they had no idea who they were dealing with. This wasn't just betrayal. It was war. The next few days were chaos. I was locked out of everything, our bank accounts, the shared bills, even the streaming services. Travis was methodical. Cruel. Like he'd planned every step ahead of time. I had to borrow a car from a coworker just to get to work. I told her my car was in the shop. I didn't want to explain what was really going on yet because, honestly, I was still embarrassed. I still hadn't fully accepted the truth. My husband was actively trying to destroy me. I started sleeping on the couch. We barely spoke. When we did, it was cold, clipped, and tense. One night, I confronted him again. "Why are you doing this?" He shrugged. "You've been ungrateful for years. You don't support me. You just take. Maybe you need to understand what it's like to have nothing." "You're punishing me?"
No.
"I'm freeing myself." That line stuck with me. Freeing himself. From what? From me? From a wife who supported him while he built his business? From someone who paid bills when the landscaping jobs dried up in the winter? From someone who cooked, cleaned, stayed faithful, even when he came home late smelling like someone else's perfume? Because yes, now that I was looking back with clear eyes, there had been signs. A sudden phone lock. Deleted messages. Weekend emergencies that pulled him out of the house for hours. I finally reached out to a friend in Raleigh who worked in finance. I told her everything. She offered to help me dig. Within 2 days, she found out Travis had opened a business account without me, under his name and Alyssa's only, and it was being funded with checks that should have been going into the joint account. When I confronted him with this, he didn't even deny it. "It's a family business," he said. "You were never part of that. You used my credit to get that loan, Travis. You needed me to build this. And now I don't. That's how things work." I couldn't believe it. The man I married, who once cried in my lap when his dad died, was now looking at me like I was a burden he was finally free of. He didn't just want a divorce. He wanted to destroy me first. That night, Alyssa showed up at the house. She didn't knock. She just walked in like she owned the place, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "You should start packing. This isn't your home anymore." I almost lunged at her. Instead, I said, "Get out." "You'll be hearing from our lawyer," she said with a smirk. "Our lawyer." That's when I realized they already had won. This had been in motion for months. I wasn't just being erased. I was being replaced. But what they didn't know was that I had already made a quiet call of my own to a lawyer I knew from a former patient at the dental office. Someone who specialized in business fraud and marital asset concealment. And I had evidence. Bank statements, text messages, photos of the torn note. Thankfully, I'd snapped a pic before he destroyed it. Even a recording I made the night Travis admitted, "You were never part of this." They wanted to come for everything? They had no idea how much I had left to take. I handed everything over to my lawyer, every photo, document, and recording. She was blunt with me. "They're getting aggressive. You need to be smarter and faster." I took that seriously. Meanwhile, Travis and Alyssa got bolder. I came home one evening to find the locks changed. They'd hired a locksmith without telling me. My name was still on the deed, but that didn't stop them from throwing my things into boxes and leaving them on the porch like I was some tenant being evicted. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I stayed calm. I took pictures. I documented everything. Then I filed an emergency motion with the court through my lawyer to block any changes to our shared property. The next day, a temporary injunction hit Travis like a brick. He was furious. I know because he tried to call me 12 times. I didn't answer. What Travis and Alyssa didn't know was that his father's estate, the inheritance they were so desperate to protect, wasn't finalized. It was still being reviewed for tax issues, and now that I'd flagged financial irregularities through my lawyer, it triggered an audit. Turns out, Alyssa had been skimming money from the business under the table and classifying it as expenses. Thousands of dollars. Money that should have been declared. Money tied to the estate. That opened a whole new door. The IRS got involved. The business account was frozen. And because I had contributed to the company early on, and because my credit was used for the first business loan, I had legal standing to claim a share. Travis showed up at my office that week. He waited in the parking lot for an hour. "I just want to talk," he said when I finally stepped outside. I told him, "Everything you built on lies is falling apart. Go home, Travis." He looked panicked, sweating. "You're ruining everything." "No," I said. "You did that the moment you picked her over me." That night, Alyssa messaged me for the first time in years. Just one line. "Do you feel better now?" I didn't reply, but I saved the message. My lawyer said it read like an admission of guilt. Then came the biggest twist. Travis's father had left a letter with his will. A handwritten one, meant to be read if there were any disputes. My lawyer requested a copy through the estate executor. The letter said this: "If Travis and Alyssa cannot act in good faith, the estate should be split 3 ways, with my daughter-in-law included. She helped build what they now enjoy." He had named me. He saw me, even if his kids never did. That letter changed everything. Suddenly, I wasn't just fighting for scraps. I was legally part of the inheritance. And Travis? He tore up his own chance at keeping it. The day we met in court, Travis looked like he hadn't slept in weeks. Alyssa showed up in a stiff gray suit, trying to look composed, but I saw it. The twitch in her eye, the way she kept clenching her jaw. They weren't in control anymore. They were scared. The judge reviewed everything: my financial contributions to the business, the recordings, the bank records, and especially the handwritten letter from Travis's father. That letter became the turning point. It proved I was more than just a wife. They'd both used me to get ahead, and his father had known it. The judge ruled that I was entitled to 35% of the business value and an equal share of the inheritance. And because they had tried to force me out of the home illegally, changing the locks and removing my belongings, I was awarded additional damages. Real, serious money. I didn't smile when the ruling came down. I didn't look at Travis or Alyssa. I just nodded and walked out of that courtroom with my head high. A week later, I sold my share of the business. I didn't want to be tied to them in any way. A local competitor bought it quickly, and part of the agreement included taking over some of the contracts Travis depended on. In less than a month, the company started bleeding clients. Alyssa was forced to leave the business. The audit findings and her under-the-table scheme led to charges, tax evasion. She ended up with a suspended sentence, community service, and a massive fine. Travis tried to keep the company alive, but without me, without his sister, and without the clients who jumped ship, he couldn't keep up. 6 months later, he filed for bankruptcy. I used the money from the settlement and the business sale to start over. I moved to Charlotte, got a small condo, paid in full, went back to school part-time to finish a degree I'd put on hold when I married him. People think revenge has to be loud, public. But real revenge? It's quiet. It's waking up in peace. It's watching the people who tried to bury you choke on the dirt they threw. One day, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, but I knew the handwriting. It was Travis. "I made mistakes. I miss you. I hope you're okay." I folded it once and dropped it in the trash. He didn't miss me. He missed the version of me that didn't fight back. Too bad for him. I'll never be her again.